Welcome to the Brofessional Development Podcast. Listen to the guys discuss business and personal development, covering all your favorite highlights. Enjoy the laughs as the guys try and keep it easy going, yet provide the substance you crave. And now, the Brofessional Development Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Brofessional Development Podcast. Where we talk about what's going on in the professional development world, our opinions, our takes, what's going on social media. Today, we've got Dan, Bobby, Brad.
That was close.
Wow.
Brandon in the house.
Do we have a new Brandon that we don't know about?
I get nervous when I do the names.
Brandley. Don't forget their
It's
names.
hard.
What are my friends' names?
And then Colin is out. Colin has to pick up his baby.
Got to be a dad.
Priorities.
Yeah. Yep. So, today...
This is not one of them.
No, obviously not. So, today we're going to...
That's why me and Dan make our wives stay
He
home.
did quit golf and the podcast.
This is just why we don't have kids.
Yeah. I'd say so. They ruin everything.
Kind of easy.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah. We saw Matt's text message this week.
That's true. She might be listening.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Did you update your
in
list?
the future?
It's
she's
nothing
listening.
inappropriate. There was somebody that mentioned something about
Somebody. A special somebody.
Yes. All right. Cool. It's fucking. Oh man.
What do we got
The
today?
podcast is canceled for the day.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck me, right? All right. Anyway, today we're going to talk about mentors.
All right, guys. Today we are going to talk about mentors. We got some questions for the guys. I'm just taking over for Matt while he composes himself.
Today we're talking about mentors. We're going to give our take on what mentors are, the importance of mentors, how to find mentors. We're going to talk about, do you have to know someone in person or someone personally and have a relationship with them for them to be your actual mentor. But before we dive into that, I think we're just going to talk about anything in general that we might have seen over the past couple of weeks as far as professional development goes. What do you got?
So I had something. This is Dan's boy, Garyvee, which I found
I was going to
interesting.
talk about Gary, too.
Oh, I beat you to it. So
Fuck.
Garyvee, sports card guy. Dan's a big sports
That's
card
what I was
guy.
going to talk about today.
Well, I want to talk about that.
No,
I
go
want to talk
ahead.
about something different. No, seriously.
Okay.
So Garyvee
Fucking
is
go.
obviously like kind of the social media king, right? Like he lives on it 24/7. Like doesn't have a family essentially. Won't date, all that stuff. And I found it super interesting that last week he basically took a week off.
Yep.
He said, "I'm taking a break, going on I don't even know if he went on vacation. Said he was going on vacation. But I thought what was interesting about that is like it proves like obviously this guy's like the king of it, and if he needs a break, I think there's a lot of people that don't understand or can't handle it. That you need to give yourself that break, whether it's for work or personal or anything. That taking a week away is a good thing. Because me personally, like I hate taking vacations, and I went on my first one before COVID hit for a week, and normally like day 3 hits and I'm like, okay, I need to get back to work. And this time it was like 7 days. I didn't think about work once. Like I actually enjoyed it, but I hadn't been on vacation for like 3 years. So it was like much needed. And it's just kind of proved that like a guy like that, if he takes a week off, that we all probably deserve it.
I think it's a balance thing. So like kind of talking into that, and I'll talk about what I was going to talk about Garyvee on. So it was interesting. I saw he basically like just completely quit for everything, basically. And I thought that was really cool because like you said, for him to take a break shows people can take a break and get back to it. But I think it's a balance thing. It was probably around the family or a vacation or something that he needed more in his life at the time than posting on social media 24/7. But what I wanted to talk about with Garyvee was while he was gone, he started talking, or it looked like he had read a book. He made a post where he had a book on his chest, and it had to do with fine art.
Yeah,
and so he was saying, "Hey, I see sports cards as being the next like version of fine art from a collection standpoint." And so I had already been collecting sports cards and from an investment standpoint. So like I've actually bought cards that I didn't even know who Luka Doncic was when I bought his cards. I was just going off of what are the hot cards right now, what's the high demand, and so I bought them. And so I did it from an investment standpoint, and maybe you should know your market a little bit better than I do. But
It's a good card to buy.
Yeah, so I ended up buying 3 at $435 each, and right now they're selling for right around $1,900 each.
Yeah,
and within
they're doing
5
all right.
months, 4 months, 5 months.
Quick turn.
Yeah, so
Really helped that he hit that game winner. And scored
yeah,
40
that was
points.
sick.
Yeah,
That was
And
sick.
became the
They
only
need to
player
win
besides
game
Jordan
6.
to ever do that, and younger than Jordan was because he's only 21 years old.
And if he didn't get hurt
Nice.
last night, he's averaging a triple-double in every playoff game he's played.
I didn't know he got hurt last
And he's
night.
only 21. So anyways, so going into the card world, like, I'm just
Dan's deep.
super into it, you know. And
vault, right?
every single card that I've bought graded has increased in value. Every single card.
Talk to the non-nerds about what graded means.
Okay, so grade, you know, basically,
I don't know what that means.
whatever. You guys are nerds, so fucking nerds.
Is it in the Beckett catalog? Because I used to have one of those. When I was a
So
kid.
basically what happens is like you get a card, you send it in to a company. There's BSA, there is Beckett, there's a couple of other ones, but they look at it with gloves on and under lights and everything, and then they give it a grade between 1 and 10. And so if you have a 10, that's a gem mint card. And so those hold the highest value, and then 1s hold lesser value. But if you have a Babe Ruth 1, you know, it's worth a lot of money. So just depends on the card, but I typically go after 9s and 10s. So
yeah, you
but-
do.
That's like Matt.
that's right.
You guys have a lot of confidence in me.
So anyways, it's been really cool. I'm just like pumped for sports cards and seeing what he's seen. Like it's weird because like I posted, then I saw his post so about my card. So anyways,
Yeah.
Manifest.
so I'm basically Garyvee.
That's right.
I didn't have a lot this week from like a social media standpoint. I think I focused a lot on just trying to produce some content for us.
That's right. Getting it done.
Trying to, man.
Yeah.
Just a couple things here and there. And what I've been most excited about, and I kind of nerded out to you guys about it, just I'm so excited about all the books that I have. Like, I have so many good books. I want to read them all at the same time.
You have to be careful. So Jim Quick has this thing called shelf help versus self help, where people buy a lot of books but they don't read them.
Well, the good news, so that's what I used to do, right? So now I'm actually reading them, and I think I'm on my 4th book now with going through 75 Hard and actually doing this. I think I'm at the point where I have a habit built. The one that I'm reading right now is 10%.
Happier.
Yeah, 10% Happier by Dan Harris, and it's finally getting into the thick of his like meditating, and he just started doing that. I think I'm on page like 100 or something like that and have like 100 to go. But that's where I've put a lot of my focus, and as far as like my week to week, because I find if I am listening to too many podcasts or scrolling through Instagram too much that I'm not absorbing it, and I'm just kind of just scroll.
I noticed that too, especially with podcasts. Like, I was on a huge kick, and then it was like kind of hit a wall of like, yeah, I'm
done the
taking
same
in
thing.
too much.
Well, there's
you know?
only so much you can take in before you have to go out and actually fucking execute it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just know what to
Useless
say in these
information.
types
That's where
of
I
situations. Right?
that's where I feel really confident. I think our like any of our listeners who are tuning into this can say, hey, here's some good podcasts to listen to, but it's also a really good idea to get these books open and actually put a dent in these and take those and put them into action. And I read, now I'm trying to remember, maybe it was something that you guys sent. I read something here today. It was even today.
It's okay to say models.
It wasn't Models. I haven't started reading that book yet. Sorry, Matt. I will read it. It's in my backpack right now. Thank
That
you.
was Matt's book.
Great book. 9s and 10s, baby. Mostly 10s. But anyways, so it just talked about all the people that are, and I got to find the word for it because it was awesome. Just talking about how these guys will attend all these different conferences and will pretend that they're doing all the stuff that makes them successful, but they don't actually go out and do the thing that makes them successful, which is action. What I said last week, action cures all fear. All these people that just think they're changing the world, and they're these real estate agents that are going out and attending the same conference every single year, and they're just going to get shit-faced, and then they don't do anything after the fact.
Catalina wine mixer.
The fucking Catalina wine
That's it.
mixer.
It's true.
So I think that's where I've had a lot of my attention focus is reading these books, then actually taking that and putting it into action, and 75 Hard has helped with that. Day 45, by the way. Colt 45 day.
NBD.
NBD.
No big deal.
No Bobby Drummond.
Brad, what do you got?
So I had the Garyvee thing, book stuff. I'm actually reading your book that you gave me, which was
Matt
wrote a
hands
book?
out books after every podcast. He's like, "Hey guys, I really think you should read this one."
that's
You're
right.
fucking welcome. Damn.
But I
He's
actually,
like,
hasn't given
you'd
me
be
a
a
book
lot
yet.
better human if you read this.
but I actually requested something completely out of my wheelhouse, which is what you gave me, which is a complaint-free world. And it's a very interesting concept of like basically one guy is essentially saying, don't complain for 21 days, and it'll create a ripple effect throughout the world. You know, they've gave out, I don't know when that was published or whatever, but I think they're at like
Early
6
2000s.
the
yeah,
waves,
so 6
the
million. So
vibes.
they got to be way past that on
Yeah.
bracelets that they've given away.
Everything's waves.
Yep.
So I've found it interesting. It's out of my wheelhouse. I haven't really got to like the real hard application part of it. I'm only on like page 50, so you know
Okay.
how books are.
So you're
I'm not in like the.
So
I'm not in the book yet. You know, it hasn't really hit. So.
It is
And I-
frustrating about books.
Why do they do that?
Like-
just get to
It's
it.
kind of like when
I'm
you get
still reading the foreword.
Yeah, it's like
it's kind of like when you get soup or coffee and they make it so hot that you,
you
have
can't
to
even
wait
enjoy
10
it.
minutes.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
So-
It's like fucking bullshit.
Yeah. I figured it'd be a little fluffy for
Put
you.
it in the
but,
fridge.
but it's a really good book. So honestly, you don't even have to complete the challenge to understand like what the concept is. So the idea is you wear a bracelet on your wrist, and then every time you complain, you have to switch wrists. So you have to like actually stop and do something every time that you complain or gossip, or there's like a couple of other things.
I've seen those.
And so the cool part, the best part, I guess the most profound part is when you just start it, because on that first day, it's just being cognizant of
Yeah, he
how
says,
much
like,
you
yeah,
actually complain.
You complain so much you don't even realize it.
And then there's little things in it where it talks about like the idea of complaining. Like we trick our minds into thinking that's taking action. Like instead of doing something about something that like we have a problem with, if we complain about it, we trick ourselves into thinking like, oh, I'm actually doing something, so I can kind of push this aside for the time being. It's a good book. You'll get it.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yep. So let's hop.
Wait,
in
Matt.
To
Did you have anything?
I just have all the prep.
We
for
didn't
today,
remind
and I
him that
figured
he
I'd
was supposed to
talk
bring
on your
anything.
point.
It wasn't on his calendar.
It was, yeah. I didn't fucking block
That's
it
fair.
off. Anyway,
Well, she did say, "What are you bringing for tomorrow?" Right?
what's that?
She reminded him, or was that you reminding her?
Of
The text messages.
so
What were
yeah,
you bringing?
For I'm gonna bring
So nosy.
gonna bring a side dish. You know,
Oh,
Okay,
family
Red.
dinner.
maybe a nice bottle of wine, maybe a pot of red.
You
That's
want,
about
the,
like
you want the
Chianti.
recipe
Ooh.
too?
Who knows?
Hey, we could start giving out recipes.
So yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Let's
Next.
let's talk about fucking,
Recipe for disaster.
Oh man, mentors.
It's fun.
Colin would
getting
be
Matt off track.
Colin would be loving this right now.
He would be.
He'd be just eating it up. Like, oh, tell me some more about this.
He would already hit 10 buttons over there.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
So what's
Let's go, Matt. You
What we
go.
got,
Yeah,
Matt?
sorry. We're just
I'm
We're,
done.
not, we're just
you
trying
for
to
as
throw
many
Matt off
curveballs.
because he's so prepared.
It's
and
working.
Everything's so structured that we can throw him off fairly
mentors.
easy.
You guys want to do it?
Let's do it.
mentors
That's what
are
we
great.
want to do.
Okay. So give me your take. Give me. Let's go around the table. Give me your take on what a mentor is.
I can start. So I never knew what a mentor was until I came to Aflac. I worked at a job in the janitorial industry for 3 years before I
Were you a
started
master of the
custodial
custodial
arts.
arts?
Yeah, I was basically a glorified babysitter, but I made fucking stupid great money, so that was awesome. But I didn't know what that was like there because I had a boss that was shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy, and then
I like that style.
I hate it. Not my style. Go for it though. That's probably you.
It is.
Don't work for Brad. If you,
We're gonna get it
if you
done.
want a mentor. But so for me, I guess a mentor is someone that you can completely confide in. I think it just goes back to leadership and like the first book that I read for 75 Hard, the Carrot Principle, just being goal setting with them, being honest, having open communication, and then there being accountability with all of that. So I mean, for me, I found that right away whenever I started with Aflac, and my boss Rusty, who is awesome. He'd love to come on here at some point too, but he has a bunch of mentors. He's been one for me, and he's kind of been like the mirror image of what I try to project onto anyone that I would like to be a mentor for, or try and project onto any individual, whether it's someone that works with me or not. Mm-hmm. So that's really kind of what it means to me, is someone that I completely confide in and can communicate with open and honestly, and basically both of us have success. And I'm not looking for a coach, but someone who's like in the thick of it with me.
Yeah. I mean, I could jump in. So I read this book called The Talent Code. I love this book. It basically dives into why world-class talent comes from small, like, poverty-stricken areas. So, like, why are 3 of the top women's tennis players in the world from, like, one small town with a population of 300 or something? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And so they kind of dial it into the mentor and the coach. So for me, a mentor is someone or something that tells you what you need to hear at the right time, right? So, like, they're not pushing things on you. They're willing to be a resource when you need it, when you need them. But at the same time, I feel like there's people that will, like, say, hey, this is what you need to do, but it's maybe not the right time.
Yeah, so kind of playing off of that, what I have is it's not really what you're learning from a mentor, but it is what you're learning, but it's not their successes. I look at more of learning from their failures, because everybody knows what you need to do to actually be successful, but what are the things you need to do to not fail? So that's what I always think about. And then it's also knowledge that you can't necessarily buy. Like, you can't pick up a book and read it. It's just something that somebody's got to teach you. Yeah,
or gives you a perspective that maybe you didn't see.
Exactly. That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I think you look at it like last week we talked about law of averages, right? You're the average of the 5 people you associate yourself most with. So it's one of those people that whether it's your profession, you're talking about health, relationships, it's somebody that's kind of been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, and it's one of those things where it's a lot easier to go off what somebody's doing than to have to go and reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
That's that's my take on it, at least.
Yeah, I think that, it's tough to find someone and try and even pinpoint who you would want to be your mentor or how you even go about finding that. I think
it's weird to think about, isn't it?
I've lucked into it a lot with my career, and I'm lucky that there's been a lot of great leaders in our organization that have just molded people into being that way without even having to think about it. And that's the way that I see anyone that I mentor, people that are on my team, or any individuals. But it's a hard thing to find, man. That'd be an interesting thing to kind of dive into.
Yeah, so that being said, it is, and it can be hard to find a mentor. Do you feel like you have to know somebody personally for them to be a mentor?
I personally do. I feel like for them to be a mentor, like, it's got to be somebody you can actually interact with. Mm-hmm. I think if it's somebody you're not interacting with, like Danson as a text member made a post today about somebody like a silent mentor, he called it. I'd almost look at that as more of like as an idol, like somebody you aspire to be, but you don't know how they're doing it or what they did to do it. You know what I mean? So I feel like you've got to know or have some sort of interaction.
So I definitely agree that there's benefits to knowing somebody and having an exchange, right? Like being able to bounce ideas off of, like when you're failing or when you're feeling like you're not up to whatever. I think there's advantages to that for sure, but I do think that you can have mentors. Gary Keller wrote The One Thing. It's a book we're all a really big fan of.
My favorite book.
And Gary Keller, besides that book, is the founder of Keller Williams. It's the largest real estate company in the entire world. He talked about how he had a mentor, and it was Warren Buffett, but he's never met Warren Buffett in his life.
Yeah.
But his idea was you find somebody that you like what they're doing, somebody probably, somebody that's written books.
It almost have to be, yeah.
Right, and you study the fuck out of them. Like up and down, like if you want them to be a mentor, study every piece of what they're doing, how they do it, why they do it, and then in turn put it into application.
Yeah, and I'm on the same page with that. So like I definitely think that there's a stronger benefit of actually knowing the person and having that personal relationship. But if you look at, if you listen to our podcast, we talk about fucking Andy Frisella all the time. Like, he's somebody who you could consider.
You brought him up first today, bro.
I did, and I was trying to hold back, but I couldn't.
Put $5 in the jar.
Yeah, we should do that. We should do that. But the reason why I think you can consider those influencers, and Ed Milet for me, an Andy Frisella, or somebody that you guys or anybody
or
listening,
Garyvee for you.
Yeah, anybody that pays attention to any of their content. They've made so much content and they've done so many different things that every question that you have, there's some podcast that they put out or some book that they've put out or something that can answer the questions that you have that you would ask them in person. You know what I mean? Like, they've already put that shit out there. And so to me, that can definitely be considered mentorship, even though they don't know who you are or anything like that. But you're still getting the answers that you're seeking at the right time that you need them. And so for me, that kind of wraps into the definition. And then I also think that books can be considered, I've read books and I don't know who wrote them. Matt you always can pull the author out of the hat, and I can't. Like, I know I've read the book, but I don't always remember the name of the author, but I still see those books as guides to how to execute in this area of my life or that area of my life. And so for me, that can be considered a mentor as well. And so, yeah, I did make a post on like the silent mentor, and it was just because, like, you know, seeing something that I want in the future, right? And knowing that this guy is working his ass off to do it. It was almost like a lesson. Every day is a lesson when I fucking do my U-turn and I see his car there. That's a lesson to me, you know?
So backtrack a little bit for those that didn't see your post.
Yeah, so I mean, and
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
Like 153.
Plug yourself.
I know. Dan,
well, I
Dan
actually
needs to
got
work
rid of a
harder on
lot.
that. Dan's weird about Instagram. He just became public like not that long ago.
I don't even know if I'm public or not, to be honest with you. But I had more, and I got rid of some. But I've kind of filtered out my Facebook, everything.
Sex
at
bots.
once. I just got sick of, like, if I'm not going to say hi to you at the grocery store, but now I'm more open to networking and things like that. That was a few years ago. But to Matt's point, I made a post today, and I'm just trying to put out more content whenever I think of something. And I mentioned this to Matt, a couple weeks ago about that building?
Because we always, every time we leave the podcast studio, we have to
do that U-turn, yeah. So I mentioned the building to Matt a couple weeks ago, and every day on my way into the office, the way this light's set up, I have to do a U-turn. And every day I do the U-turn at the exact same spot. And it's this gorgeous redone building that looks modern now, but it was, you know, probably beat to shit before this guy got it. It is an architectural firm, so it
should look nice.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason. He's an attention to detail guy, I'm sure. But at the same time, like, it was, I would love to have this building one day. And so every morning I turn around, I get to look at that building, and every time I'm like, I like that building. And every fucking time the dude's car is there. You know what I mean? He's there before me every day at work, you know, beating me to work basically, and he's got the shit that I want, you know.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was the point of the post.
And there's been a lot of stuff, like, obviously my industry, like Jesse James, everybody's seen him on Discovery Channel, you know, motorcycle builder, Hollywood star essentially. You know, he's made posts about that. Like, if you're pissed off at the guy that's got the F-250 King Ranch truck, get up at 5 a.m, you'll see him driving on the highway to get to work.
Right. And I'm not
you're
mad
stuck
at the guy.
you know, in traffic. So
yeah,
no,
so,
I don't think you're mad at him, but, you know, it's like, that proves, you know, people who are successful know it.
Yeah,
you know?
and in the post I said I thank this guy, you know, for, like, every day reminding me of what it takes, you know. So that's why I think it's cool. I don't. I might go in
just
one
knock
day
on the
and
door.
just be like, hey man,
Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Well, one day he was out. Literally, it was like I got there early that day. It was like 6:45, and he was out there with a hammer, like banging nails into the fence. Yeah, it's just like everything was
whatever it
perfect.
takes, right?
Yeah.
Are you sure that was him?
Yeah,
Banging nails.
He doesn't know. He doesn't matter.
There was a Range Rover, and there was the dude, you know,
Right.
and he was looking suave a little bit too.
Okay.
Oh,
Very nice.
So I don't think he was like looking for, you know, Pepsi cans.
So Dan's got a
You have to go to Michigan
potential
to get those refunded.
mentor.
Dan's got a silent mentor. Who are some of your guys' biggest mentors? You already mentioned Rusty.
Yep.
So I wrote a blog about this like a couple months ago. So I have several mentors. I consider my dad probably my biggest one, but I don't really want to talk about him because I always talk about him.
Talk about him.
Well, my dad's super successful. He was that guy that got there, worked his ass off. I didn't see him, you know, for a decent portion of my childhood because he'd be at work before I woke up and he wouldn't be home till I went to bed, you know. And lucky enough, we got to spend the majority of my high school and, you know, up until a couple years ago, a lot of time together, more than most people do, and I still see him every single day. But then I have four other people actually, who are involved in my little niche industry. So one was the guy that worked for me. His name's Flea Ruzik. It was a nickname he got when he raced. So he's probably like the best fabricator in the country. Just the dude can do anything. He's who taught me how to weld, who taught me how to start actually fabricating, and we still talk almost every single day. If I have a question, he's got an answer. We supported each other in business. We did have a brief period where we had a falling out, and it was like it wasn't able to be apart, where like magnets had to suck back together. Another guy who also worked for me, who in my blog I wrote, you know, some of these people I still talk to every day, and other people won't even give me the time of day. And this guy will not make eye contact with me. He won't say hi. He won't say fuck you. And that's Rick England, another amazing fabricator. Who he
Do you
taught
make
me.
all your mentors mad?
No, I mean, I think it's just in our industry. There's like, there's
just shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Kind of guy, remember?
So there's a time frame there. It's like it's weird with racing. Like if you were in the industry, you would know. So this guy taught me how to do all my sheet metal work. The guy could build anything. Like if you had a project, a hot rod, anything, this guy could do it. And I tried multiple times to reach out to him and tell him that I appreciated everything that he had taught me, and just nothing. Then another guy is somebody who I actually reconnected with once we kind of got this started. It kind of made me realize like this was a person who did play a bigger role in my career, in my life, and that was one of my college professors who was in charge of the entrepreneurship program at Webster University, named Ms. Barrett Babler. And we actually talk probably once a month. We'll do like a Zoom call. We used to go out to coffee, and it's just kind of nice to we have this like I'm a shoot first, ask questions type guy. So now he's the book smart. This is how it should be done. So it's nice to like kind of go back to that, like instead of hard knock life learning, to go back to like, okay, this is like the path that you maybe should think about doing a little bit more. And it kind of makes me grounded a little bit more. So I actually still talk to him quite a bit, and it's been nice to get involved back in Webster, which I've done some entrepreneurship judges on their last one, but obviously with everything going on, I don't know what they got going on for this year. But.
Yep. So I had a mentor like right out of college. Buddy / mentor. So we were peers. His name is AJ Vogler, and so at the time he was a sales rep.
I know
was
him.
A sales rep.
Yeah.
CBC guy.
Yep.
Yeah, and now he's VP of Sales and Marketing over at ADT Secure 24. They're like one of the largest ADT dealerships in the country. He also owns a home inspection company. He owns a pest control company. I'm sure he's in a couple other things because I haven't caught up with him. But he got me into self-development. So we were partnering with like a lot of realtors, and so I think they rubbed off on him. That's when I started reading those books.
Is that who you started the first book club with?
No.
Okay.
No, that's a different person. But and then really just that job in general. So I like him plus that job like probably brought me the structure that I have today. Like because I was always okay, what are the numbers? Like it made me focus in sales on like, okay, if I want to make X amount of money, it's like, how much is that per month? Okay, now I dial it down to how many calls per day. So that's probably the only person like, well, and there's a couple of people that are recruiters that own their own agencies that I look at, mentors like Pat Queenston and a few other people that I keep in contact with pretty regularly. And then Tim Ferriss. I was thinking about this like when I was putting pen to paper a little while ago on like what books or what people. And I look at the stuff that Tim Ferriss wrote, like with the 4-hour work week, with like the Pareto principle. Like I'm a firm believer that 80% of the outcome comes from 20% of the actual activity, and I apply that to a lot of things in life, and I learned that through him. And then I used one of his work from home negotiation scripts to do that when I was at Nestle Purina, and I wanted to have the time to kind of go off and start my own company. Interviewing, if you've ever he was the first person I ever binged on self-development because he's an incredible interviewer. He also has that book Tribe of Mentors, which talks all about mentorship.
It's a cool book.
Yeah,
it's a great bathroom book, by the way.
Tribe of Mentorship, it looks like it's like 6 Bibles stacked on top of each other. But it's what he does is he asks a list of questions to some of the best people in the world at their given profession, and they basically answer these questions, give their favorite quotes, their takes on life, and it's only like 3 to 5 pages on each person.
I find that super interesting.
So you
too.
don't
It's
have
a really
to.
cool
So it's
book.
not a
You
book
like
that you have to read cover to cover, but you can look through the index and say, "Oh, this person's super interesting," or Warren Buffett, I want to learn about finance, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then the idea of finding people who have done what you're trying to do and learning from that instead of trying to figure it out yourself. So I remember taking that concept when I wanted to start my own recruiting agency. And so I was like, okay, how can I start finding people? Dan was the first person I reached out to because he started.
So am I a mentor?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what...
I feel like you guys are all
kinda-
very connected.
Dan's a mentor.
I feel like he's talked about it a lot, how you were the guy like he reached out to start a business.
Damn, well, this podcast fucking sucks.
God damn it, I didn't think Dan would be a mentor.
No. I mean, honestly, there are a lot of ways I look up to Dan. Dan's created a lot of success
No,
so
you
far.
always look down on him.
Because I'm tall.
Yeah, he's short.
Because I'm tall. Yeah.
But where's his ball at? That was the Brad's golf joke 4 times whenever we played.
Yeah.
Oh, you're short.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but
geez.
where's
Always.
Dan's ball?
Yeah, whatever. We're not gonna talk about golf.
So
That was a bad memory.
Dan was the first person that I reached out to, and then after that, it kind of clicked with me. Like, okay, here's the deal: don't have to reinvent the wheel. How do I find mentors? And so I honestly reached out to people and probably sent about 75 to 100 messages on LinkedIn to business owners, mostly local. Some, if I saw that they were pretty big nationally, and I only got a handful of responses. Well, a good amount of responses. I probably ended up either talking to on the phone, getting lunch with, or coffee with 30 to 35 people. Some of them, like majority of them, that were overwhelmingly like nice, right? But I would say, hey, love what you're doing. I see you've had success for 30 years. I see you've got X amount of employees and you're in this industry. Can I buy you coffee? Can I buy you a lunch? Can I just pick your brain? Which I've then learned there's better ways to go about it. You should actually try to provide like real value first. But like I said, people were overwhelmingly helpful, and a lot of people were like, "You're just getting
Except for
started
my
out.
competitor,
Let me." No, he was helpful.
but he's scared.
But there was actually one guy that sat down and he was just like, "Listen, man, I got 10 minutes." He's like, "What do you need?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, dude, I just saw you did well." And he
Waste of 10 minutes.
No, he ended up then. When I was at Purina, he then asked me after like I kind of asked a couple questions. He was like, "So I see you're at Purina." He's like, "You think you could get me in there?" And I was like, "He ended up."
You want a job?
He was just trying to get.
He was trying to get Purina as a client.
Oh, Lord.
But he probably was looking for a job after that. He went out of business about a year later.
I feel like
Sucks
most
to
people
suck.
are flattered by like somebody asking.
So
Well, we've all
I
been
love
there,
that.
Yeah.
right?
Well, he
So-
had only been in for a few years, and so I feel like everyone that's successful, or most people that are in business and are successful, are growth-minded, right? Or abundance-minded. Like, okay, there's enough for everybody, and like you said, flattered, and can imagine themselves when they were there in that spot.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I think like if somebody would ask me, at first I would be annoyed. Like, oh, you want me to go do this? Like, I don't have time for it. And then 30 seconds would go by and be like, hell yeah. Like, you want to
Yeah.
hear what I have to say? For sure. I'll be there.
People
So.
love talking about themselves.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's good to teach.
So-
That's
People
one of
want
the
to help,
part of
they
the-
just don't know how.
Yes. Yeah. And another thing going off of that, like if you are reaching for someone that you feel is a little bit out of your grasp or just like too many levels above you, I was reading a podcast or listening to a podcast on this,
He
and like I
caught
said,
it before I did.
it's try to provide value. You know, it's like I was just thinking, like Brad, if you found somebody on LinkedIn, and maybe you could grab their address and then you could make them a custom putter or something with one of their quotes on it.
Oh, yeah.
And just like toss that to them and be like, "Hey, I love your work. Thanks for everything that you do." See if you can get a response, and then start a dialogue, and then see if you can grab coffee or lunch with them, or something like that. Or like, we've got our internship podcast,
Yep.
like asking somebody that's super successful in a growing business, like, "Hey, you're incredible. We'd love to hear your company's story and to let you spread the word on our podcast that hits the demo of 18 to 24. Like, would you be open to doing that?" And typically they'll be like, "Of course." And then you start the dialogue, and then you start to, eventually sneak in like a question or two about how they could potentially help you.
Yeah, and I'll dive in. So I have one guy who is a friend. I golf with him every week, but I consider him my mentor, even though he wouldn't say that. And the reason is he's helped me out so much. Like, he provided office space for me when I first started for free because he's had multiple businesses, been very successful. And what's so funny is, like, I met him. I could never see him using Craigslist to find golf lessons, but I needed to make some money while I was in college, and so I gave golf lessons for $30. And basically, they said, "Hey, if you're bad, I can help you. If you're good, I can't." And he responded. I can never see him responding to that. So it's always like, it's so weird that we connected that way, because usually he would be hiring somebody that's way higher level, I think. Anyways, so we've maintained a great relationship, great friendship, and anytime I have questions, he's willing to help me answer. Sometimes I don't always listen right away, so he gets a little frustrated, but within a year, whatever he said always ends up being right because he's already been there, done that. And so it's just weird. You can meet a mentor, it could happen tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what's going to come.
Yeah, I agree.
Where you're going to find them. Yeah. But it can happen at any time, and I think that there's so much opportunity out there for mentorship. You're bound to run into somebody if you're looking for it, or if you need it. So
I think that I love that. I think that you can find one any day. I've had a couple that have, like, I mean, I could talk about Rusty all the time. Like, he's the reason why I'm at where I'm at with Aflac and why I will go where I'm going to go with Aflac. He's already got his sights on the next position, and I got my sights on the next one too. We both know we want to work with each other, right? And I think you need to have different mentors in different areas of your life.
Totally
like if
agree
you
with
go
that.
back to the one thing they talk about, the one thing that you need to do if your focus is spirituality or finance or personal relationships or your job, whatever that one thing that you're looking for. So for me, like, I didn't ever think I'd have some sort of... Well, first of all, I didn't think I'd have anything as far as self-development, like excitedness that we have going on here right now.
I think we're all that way, except for maybe Matt.
What, self-development excitedness?
Yeah.
You don't think I'm pumped?
No,
about it?
I think you were
I'm
born
saying
that
you
way.
were born that way, yeah. I'm
But-
saying the three of us probably weren't.
I was
but-
worried about
Well,
two things.
I can say this for me.
Probably just one.
Like in
10 years ago, 15 years ago.
in my journey that I've been on, just between sobriety and then getting, like, because at first I was thinking, all right, like, that's the only thing I have to worry about. I need to get sober. And then I was like, all right, well, I want to go faster. I want to go faster. I want to go faster. I want to do all these different things to be more successful in different areas of my life. And if Matt wouldn't have, we just talked one day because he was like, hey, do you want to come check it? Or are we going to play in that volleyball tournament? And I was like, no, actually, this, and this happened, and I don't even remember committing to that. And he was like, dude, you should come check out this podcast. And honestly, like, I see you as a mentor, like 100%. I do,
Damn, dude.
I do. And to get like 100%,
Teary-eyed.
like,
We got,
but
like, a
here,
circle
dude,
jerk
like,
going
I would not be here at this
Dan switched
podcast. I would not have done my first volleyball doubles training here today. Like, I really do admire you, and I look up to you, and I 100%, like, this part of my life, like, is because of you right now, and I want to be able to, like, I get good stuff from Brad, I get good stuff from Dan and Colin whenever he's here not chewing gum.
He does chew
I get
gum
good
every
stuff
fucking week.
from everyone, man. So that, thank you for that, because that's huge for me.
I feel like my head is, like, red all the way to the top right now.
It's a little bit.
I gotta ride
But
home with this guy.
There's that on the
Gotta roll the windows down.
on the health and fitness side, like Kelly Baker. I know we've talked about her a lot on this, and Brad every single time has a joke like, "Oh, you dating that girl yet?" Nope, still married, Brad. But
Do we know who the dad is?
anyways, see, he says stuff like this,
She
and then
can't
he gets
even
mad
listen to
about
this because
Colin
you
talking
ruin it
about
for her.
cocaine. It's hilarious. But no, her, like, if it wasn't for her, I would not have started this workout regimen. Like, I literally bug her with questions all the time about things that I could probably read on the descriptions on this website, and she takes the time to call me and explain this stuff to me, and then I read it on the thing. I actually got some supplements today, and I was like, oh, she literally just texted me what was on.
She just read the
description
directions.
on this. Yeah, and I was just like, tell me what to do. And so she's someone that I really look up to. I think it's important to have someone in that health, fitness, that kind of lifestyle. Diet is something that's really huge. And then the last thing that I had on there was just, I mean, if you have someone for finance, I think that's really important. Rusty is that person for me. I think it's important to understand, especially with what we do, like getting into this, your taxes that you pay, all that different stuff. If you set a good example for your people, I'm not a great example of that, but I know it's important to find someone like that you can look up to make sure you're doing things the right way. So I think mentorship is something that's completely underrated and not enough people are talking about, because people are just happy to go through their day-to-day, and they go to their job, they come home, it's their 9 to 5, they're these W-2 employees, and they don't think about where they could have mentors in their life out. And you don't need to be an independent contractor and have a business in order to have mentors. People need this no matter what you do.
And people start gravitating towards you in the mentorship, right? Because you understand what you want. Like, you see somebody in any area of life, and you're like, I want that, right? Like, you know exactly what about it that they have that you want, and you want to go after it, right? And then all of a sudden, people like that start gravitating to you. And actually, I had a quote written down that life punishes the vague wish and rewards the specific ask. So, like, you can just kind of like look at something and be like, oh, it's kind of a cool truck, or that's a cool car, or, you know, that's a nice house, or whatever it is. And it's like, if it's a vague wish, you're not going to get anywhere. But if it's a specific ask, meaning like you see something in someone Or you see something that you like, and then all of a sudden you start finding people that like that, and you actually go and figure out how to get that and what it takes behind that and the pricing and all that. I think you're a lot more, I mean, we know that, you're a lot more likely to be successful.
Didn't one of you guys share something along the lines of like how fast you can learn a new skill? It was like the guitar thing.
Oh, yeah, I sent that yesterday.
Tell everybody about that real quick.
Yeah, so...
Because I didn't actually
Oh,
read the
no,
whole
I read
thing.
that, yeah.
So,
I read it.
Jordan Adler, he's the author of Beach Money, and then he came out with a second book called Better Than Beach Money. And I got into send-out cards about 3 years ago because of a guy, Bob Bunch, who's really big in St. Louis. If anyone's listening to this who has ever been to a network meeting, you know who Bob Bunch is. And maybe you guys do, maybe you don't, I don't know. But... I actually got introduced to him, and to Jordan Adler. I actually had a Zoom meeting. I was actually at NextCore whenever I was still working out of there a little bit, and we talked a little bit about just what send-out cards was, about what my opportunity was, and for me, I'm like, well, I'm only using this for Aflac purposes to try and stay top of mind with my current clients or potential clients. So if they think about something like Aflac or benefits at all, they're going to come to me. I'm going to be the first person they think about. And the point of this, and why Dan wanted me to bring this up, just some backstory on that guy, he put up a post yesterday saying that he was trying the same guitar riff like 200 times on his second day, and he's like, it's not perfect, but he's like, I've mastered 10 seconds of it. And he's like, in a month, I'll have mastered like a song or 2 songs,
right,
and whatever that might be. And same thing, he learned how to fly helicopters. He started learning little by little, day by day. I'm sure he did simulators and then actually got in, and now he flies helicopters all the time. And I think he lives in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And he's actually one of those, like, kind of like a silent mentor for me. I see him, and not that I want to be single for forever, but he is a single guy, probably in his late 40s, early 50s. He could even be older than that too. And he looks great. He's constantly working out. He's doing all these things that he's passionate about, and he's able to take those vacations that he wants to take. And he's someone that I look up to. And so the reason why I wanted to bring him up is in that post that he was learning the guitar, and he mentioned like YouTube tutorials and things. And so I see those even as a mentor with trying to learn a new skill fast. To Matt's point, you get interested and you start putting your focus on any skill or whatever, and then you start digging in and diving in with who are the players, who does what I want to go do, and you start researching that, and then you start connecting with those types of people. Yeah. And so when he learned to fly a helicopter, I'm sure he talked to people that have flown helicopters, and they became a mentor in some regard. When he's doing the guitar, he's learning how to do that from people who have done it, and those can be considered mentors. And then, Tim Ferriss, Matt, one of your favorites, he, ballroom dancer, like champion after a year. He learned that skill very quickly, and then kickboxing champion within a year. And so I'm sure everybody that's ever done anything very good, very fast, has talked to a lot of people who have, to your point, Matt, failed at some point.
Well, because you're not going to learn something from somebody who doesn't know how to do it.
Right.
But he goes into saying in that post, he's like, I forget how easy it is to become good at something. Right? Like, obviously, like, the Malcolm Gladwell, if you want to master something to 10,000 hours, but realistically, like, to become, like, more than competent in something doesn't take a lot with all the resources that we have, especially nowadays. Yeah. So, anything can be really considered as a mentor, not necessarily a person, like you said, Dan. Like, any book that you take away something from.
Do you still agree with what you...
No, the way you guys kind of explained it makes more sense.
Cool.
I mean, I think I was looking at more like a practical sense. Of
for sure.
Someone that you communicate with.
Yeah.
So, wanted to touch on one more thing, and that's, do you guys have anybody that you specifically mentor?
I have one person. Well, one
Matt.
Particular.
I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Matt mentors me.
He's going to be
My
trying
head,
to fucking sun me all day, every day.
I don't know if both of our heads are going to fit in the car on the way back.
Yeah, you can get your second 75 hard workout in.
There's a guy on my team, Bryson, who he's 22-year-old kid, and I know he sees me as a mentor. I know that he is the way that I see myself with Rusty is the way that I would imagine Bryson sees himself with me. Someone where, hey, if I take on that next position, he's he's my number one, right? Or my number two, whatever you want to call it. Like people say like, all right, if you get promoted, who's your replacement? Like that's my guy. And I'm sure Rusty would say the same thing about me. So that's someone that I'm currently mentoring. And whenever I was fucking off and doing stupid shit like drinking way too much, he followed suit. And then now that I've started to like turn the corner here and start to get my shit right, he's done the same thing. He actually failed 75 hard last night. He forgot the 10 pages of reading. He called me today.
Ouch.
So disappointed. And
I
he
know
was
that
on
feeling.
day,
How
like,
far did he get?
he was on like day 25.
Oh, that's
so
the worst.
he was like, fuck, I'm so pissed.
Yeah.
But that's someone who and now I think I've just realized, just with the power of, especially even on Instagram, I've actually had multiple people contact me individually, give me a phone call, send me messages on here saying that my stories inspired them. And I think it just makes me realize that our reach is a lot bigger than what we think it is, and people are watching what we do every single day, whether it's in person or if it's over social media. And I think our influence is a lot bigger than what we think. And directly with someone like Bryson, like I know I have to be on my shit in order to make sure that he is the best person that he can be for his fiance and future family, whatever that might look like. And it's a big responsibility to own and to wear every single day.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think, to be an actual leader, you have to be a mentor to some regard.
Agreed.
To whoever it is, to the people that work for you, to your kids, your family, whatever. I think that you have to want to mentor somebody. I think that there's some, especially me, like early when I was selling sunglasses, I was like top sales guy, right? But at the end of the day, I wasn't teaching anybody what I was doing, right? And so that's why I never got a management job, or you know what I mean? Because I was too immature at that time. I wanted everything for me, and I wanted to hide that.
Are you saying we could have someone on the podcast that works at the Sunglass Hut?
I don't really know anybody there anymore. That was like
Is that where you were?
13 years ago. Is that where I work now?
No.
Oh.
Is that where you worked? Was it the Sunglass Hut?
Yeah. When I was like
that's
19,
awesome.
but
It's the only one I know of.
Faces and frames.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so I think from a leadership perspective, you have to actively be looking for those situations where you can become a mentor and give advice. And I would say, like, people that work for me, you can consider that a mentorship, because there's a couple people that have worked for me where it's kind of like, hey, this is great, I love that you're here, especially the first guy that worked for me, but it was time for him to grow, right? And so, like, this isn't where you're going to get that. It's time for you to kind of go out and level up. But there's also been other people that have worked for me where it's, I can train them on whatever we do, but from a mentor perspective, it's kind of like, maybe this isn't what you're, and no hard feelings, but let's find out what it is that you love. And it's not me getting rid of them right away. It's a 2 or 3 month process whenever we identify, like, hey, this isn't the long term for you. So, like, how can I help you figure out what that long term looks like? So,
Do you still communicate with those people?
yeah, of course.
Do they ask for help
except
often?
I mean, they'll still text me, yeah, and they'll still say, hey, I have this idea, or I'm thinking this, or whatever.
That's so cool. And you're like, I've had 30 ideas today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So I think the opportunity to be a mentor is probably one of the biggest chances you can have to grow. I don't have anything specifically right now, but just thinking of, like, when I did Big Brothers Big Sisters, I think that was a really good opportunity to have a positive influence on someone's life that didn't necessarily have that growing up. But also, like, in the business world, and selfishly speaking, it's like, if you want to master something, teach it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
you're going to
and
learn it way better than you ever did doing it if you can actually teach it to somebody, whether it's selling, fabricating,
Jim
recruiting.
Quick just had that in his book. That was, or actually, that was the podcast he did. I forget the actual acronym that he had, but the last one was teach. So
Yeah.
fast, yeah.
Yep.
Forget.
Facebook was actually the first one.
I thought it was forget.
I don't know. I think the first one was Facebook,
All right,
because he
we'll
was
have
like,
to look
"Follow
at-
me on Facebook, smash that like button."
We'll have to. I'll have to revisit that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, anything else you guys have before we close out?
You mentor anybody? Brad?
I mean, same thing, and probably just employees, stuff like that. I mean, I don't.
I'm sure in the race world you had people who were just getting in and asking you questions.
Yeah, but
you were like, "Fuck off."
yeah, kind of.
I could see you. Yeah.
I mean, that seems like an every man for himself sport.
Yeah,
It's
so. I mean, Phil Mickelson isn't telling Tiger what he's hitting, right?
That's because Tiger's telling Phil what he's hitting.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think just like maybe one thing to put a bow on this is just kind of going back earlier to talk about what you said, Matt, and like looking to find a mentor, like you need to contact a lot of people, and it just depends on what's important to you. So for those that are listening, just think about what's important to you right now. Is it getting healthier? Is it being better at your job, or getting into a specific industry that you want to get good at, and reaching out to those people on LinkedIn, on Facebook, through your phone, text message, phone calls, etc., and just letting these people know that you need help. Because I can tell you right now, if anyone is listening to any of us and they're like, I want to be good at recruiting, or like, shoot, I've always been interested in, like, this guy talked about this guy who taught him how to weld for the first time, I want to learn how to do that. Or if they're like, I want to be better at sales, whatever that might be, come talk to us. Hit us up. Talk to people out there in the community. Ask for help. And if you don't ask for help, you'll never find a mentor, and you'll never have an opportunity to mentor someone if you don't put yourself out there and get uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think, and just to kind of add on to that, I think that once you start focusing your energy, your efforts, your brain, whatever, on an area of life that you want to get better at, you're going to start running into what you can consider a mentor. So just want to wrap it up with that.
Absolutely. And then I had one more quote before we go, and I had told you guys this already. So the quote goes, the only true voyage would be not to travel through 100 different lands with the same pair of eyes, but to see the same land through 100 different pairs of eyes. So that kind of, just to tie things up, it's like, go find people that have seen, been, done, whatever it is that you're looking to do physically, spiritually, financially, in business. Start talking to them, start creating conversations, and start from them piecing together instead of thinking that you got to do it by yourself.
Love it.
Cool.
Did you guys have one guy, if you could have any person in the world to be your mentor?
Ooh.
Who would it be? Or girl, sorry.
You have your one. You were excited
I
about
do
it.
have
I
one.
think I know
but
who yours is.
I'm going to save mine for the
His
the
is
end.
Andy Frisella.
No.
Way out of the ballpark.
$5 in the bucket.
Is this somebody everybody will know the name of?
Everybody in the world.
Yeah, I know who it is.
So I actually didn't even think of this one. So do you guys have one?
I wanted
this
Brad to
wasn't
start.
this wasn't in the plans.
I did enough.
Brad, who's your one person?
So
that
I
you
did
would
have
choose?
two, but the one that like
Can I
is,
try? Can I
yeah,
guess? Elon Musk?
He was one of them, but
Okay.
that's my other one is
Boner Town.
nobody judge me, is Hitler. This dude must have been the best salesman.
Nobody judge me.
No, but seriously, think about this.
I hear you.
I think we're going to end on the quote.
No, you're thinking too. You're
Hey,
thinking too. Like,
Justin, is there any way that we can cut this short? How do we do this?
you guys are thinking too.
No,
you guys are not thinking.
hold on.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
Explain
successful...
why you would like
How did
Hitler
he-
to be your...
How did he
There are a lot of-
convince? How did he convince?
I love that.
Almost an entire continent to
So
do
there-
the things
credibility
There-
gone.
No, there,
they did. No, I think you're.
Hold on,
actually
time out.
way backwards.
there
on
are a
this
lot
one.
of successful people that have
way
studied
backwards.
Hitler.
You're not listening.
There's a lot of people that have successful people that have studied Hitler, and Jordan Belfort talks about this. You can use your skill set and your
He
your
used it for a
personality.
wrong
You can use
reason.
it for good, or
Yeah.
you can use it for bad. But it's the same skill set, And so I can see where you say that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it like I want to learn how to murder millions of people.
Right.
I'm saying this guy was clearly a very good leader,
Influential.
but he did it wrong. So
He used it for the wrong
He used it for the
reasons.
wrong reasons. He was
Right.
an amazing leader. That sounds bad. No, but as far as being a leader,
Small hole here.
yeah.
Dig.
As far as being a leader,
Done.
he took things and he created amazing things that most people couldn't do in a time frame.
He had incredible influence.
Yes,
Incredible influence.
and that's what we're
Can
talking
you imagine
about.
if
Right
he
now.
had an
got
Instagram?
people, and he could get people to do what he wanted.
He'd probably
them
be
to
pretty
do.
high on the follower list.
Anyways, he probably
One
does have an
more.
Instagram.
Can we end on something
I'll
better
just
than
dive
Hitler?
in. Yeah, so I'll just dive in with
Not
who
better,
I would
but
want. Like if
different
I,
than Hitler.
Yeah.
How about that?
if I was looking at somebody, there's two people that come to mind. One is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
That's a good one.
That's it. So what's so amazing about that guy is like if you look at his path, like his dad was a professional wrestler, so he got into wrestling. But if you really look at his path, it's kind of like he's been somebody that has came and conquered literally everything he's done in life.
Had what, $7 in his pocket?
Yeah, but I mean, just he's so amazing because he does so much, but he's successful at everything he does at the same time. What do I got?
You got a rock shirt on.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. I didn't even realize.
Project Rocket.
Didn't plan that.
That's awesome.
So, and then the other one would be Richard Branson, because I think he's just as spontaneous, probably more spontaneous than I am.
So I actually just heard about this. A lot of people look at Richard Branson as a big risk taker, but he's really good at mitigating risk. So like the thing with like Boeing and the jets, it's like he basically said like he reached out to them for the planes or whatever, but I guess the deal was that if it didn't work out, he would just give the planes back. So he's obviously really good at what he does, but I heard he's just really good at mitigating risk.
I just think it's cool that
He's a true entrepreneur, though.
Right. Well, that's
100%.
And I know this sounds crazy, but I see myself as a true entrepreneur from the regard that I do come up with ideas and I try to do things that nobody else is doing, whether they work or they don't work or it's stupid or whatever. But I don't like doing things the traditional way. I want to do something new, exciting, change the game type stuff. And so I've always wanted to run multiple businesses. And I think that's just kind of been my thing.
I think him and Elon are actually super connected in that sense. Like, they say, I'm going to go do something, and they just do it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of in the same industry.
And I've done that, but I failed more than I wanted.
Yeah. That's how it works, though.
Unlike them.
Yep. So to wrap it up, guys, if you're listening to this and you don't have a mentor, go out and find one. Use LinkedIn. Use your network. Try to find a mentor. Just ask. If you don't ask, it's always a no. And if you end up doing it by listening to the podcast, shoot us a message. Let's hear your story.
Yeah, or if you have a great mentor, just shoot us a message and share your story about how you found them too, and we can post that on our social.
Give me your mentor. Yes.
GiveMeYourMentor.com.
Cool. So what's our social?
Professional Development.
Instagram, Professional Development.
YouTube. Spotify. Podcast.
All of it.
Everything.
Just find us.
We're everywhere.
Give us 5 stars.
That's it.
MySpace.
We deserve it.
Cool.
Napster.
Deuces.
See ya.
See ya.
Bobby didn't like my...
If you were at Circle K right now, you could pop in and grab something fresh and delicious to eat and be back on the road in no time. Yep, you'd be moments away from sinking your teeth into a juicy bacon cheeseburger or a mouth-watering brunch burger on a brioche bun, both hot and fresh out of the oven. From pizza to sandwiches, whatever you're in the mood for, it's all fresh and it's all fast at Circle K. Food offering varies by location.